Hello everyone, it's Angie here at Beads and Plenty More. Today I thought I'd show you how to do this 2-strand floater necklace done on tiger wire. And it's just a simple little dainty necklace that you can wear with any outfit. I ended up using these little flowers, metal beads in there that you can put a bead in the middle. So I'll post a full supply list at the end of this class, or at the end of the video here. But what I'm using is the 19-strand tiger wire, and it's the 0.015 or the 0.38 millimeter tiger wire. And then I've got, for my first strand, I've got the metal spacer bead here with the flower, and I've got 2 different 3 millimeter crystal rondelles, and then I'm using 2 millimeter crimp beads here. And I've cut this 18 inches long. So to get started, so I've threaded this initial unit onto my wire, and what I want to do is I want to center it, so I'm matching my ends up, and I'm going to just squish the crimp beads that I put on either side of it. And this is something, take your time on the crimp beads because you want to get them squished nicely. You can put a little thing called a crimp cover on top of them if you really want. I find that you don't need to do it. They sit kind of nice as is. So there's the first unit done. And then I'm going to work out each way. So I've got the one in the center, and the next one, slip a crimp bead on here. I'm going to measure my distance here, and I'm going to measure 1.5 inches from my previous crimp bead. And then just come in and squish that one. Thread my next little unit here. These daisies can be a little tricky to get the middle bead in because you have to match the hole up on the other side. Then come in and squish it on the other side here. I've seen people, when they don't have a ruler, just use a little piece of a straw to measure. And that works just as well, or even just a scrap of paper with a measurement on it. So I'm working on tiger wire, and one thing about this necklace is you're going to have to be a little bit more cautious when you're storing it, because if you squish it up, sometimes with tiger wire it won't recover. It'll end up all kinked up and stay kinked up. Tiger wire is nice and durable and everything, and it's great to use that way, but with these floater necklaces, sometimes you just have to be that little bit more cautious storing it. And that's where having more strands of wire running through, so I said this was a 19 strand. You can buy up to a 49 strand, and the more strands of wire that are running through your tiger wire, the more flexible it's going to be, which means that if you did happen to squish it up, it will recover better. It won't stay as kinked. I'm on the last one here, and then we'll talk about how to add the clasp and the second strand on. So you can actually buy 1.5 millimeter crimp beads. I'm using the 2 millimeter crimp beads. And I did find with the 1.5 that the holes were really small, so it was a little more awkward to thread them. Which, when I'm doing a video here, I kind of want to be able to move along and not get tied up here. So I opted for the 2 millimeter crimps, but they look a little bit bigger. I'll show you the difference on my sample here. So I don't know if the camera will be able to even pick up the difference, but there's the 1.5 versus the 2 millimeter crimp. All right, so that's one half of this strand done. And what I'm going to do is pull the second strand up here. Now I went ahead and pre-threaded all my beads onto this second strand, and I'm just gonna put my temporary end on there, and we'll work on the one end here. So how to put the clasp on. So I'm matching my two ends up, and then I have this piece called a bead tip, or a culotte sometimes it's called, and it has a little hole in the bottom. We're going to thread through that with both. Okay, so now I've got that floating on my string here. I'm going to grab another one of the crimp beads. And I'm threading it onto both of them. And I want to basically squish it right up tight to the. So this is the one you want to make sure you've got squished, so you can see that I'm taking a little bit of extra time. The other ones, if they floated around a little bit, it wouldn't be the end of the world. So now I've got that one squished. I'm just going to pull my bead tip back up, and I'm really just closing it around that crimp bead. So this gives me the end that I can then hook a clasp onto. So I'm going to hook my little lobster claw on. And I like to take the round nose pliers and come in and just round it out, because that way I'm not squishing it flat, and this can still move around nice and freely. So last thing to show you before I kind of end the video here is how to space my other row. Now you can take your tape measure here, and you can measure out distances again. Excuse me. Or you can just match it up with the row before and eyeball it a little bit. Now, if you happen to get one measurement off on your row before, then you have the advantage of being able to correct that a little bit with this one so that these sit in between. So I can take this and I can measure from my previous row and say that that's about a ½ an inch between. It will depend a little bit on your beads, but so that's really the basics of doing floater necklaces and doing multi-strand floater necklaces. So I'm going to let you go here, and I will post that supply list at the end here. And I'll show you a finished product. Have a good day.